That's good. When you're doing a display, it's a built function. When you're doing like math on some numbers, it's kind of but I guess the only one code is C. That's the well, that whole code
The volume on?
First of all, Eric.
Now I do. Oh, here we
Good. All right. Thanks everyone for coming. Hopefully everyone got here safely this morning despite our little freezing event that we had. Another active weather day on one of our weather briefings. So Rich, I'm very happy, was able to still come over from the National Weather Service. I'm sure they've been pulling their hair out just like the rest of us trying to forecast this event. So
I still have hair.
he still has hair, so he's still good to go. Rich, take it away.
Thanks. So most people are getting ready to do finals. They can go home, right? So we'll talk about, most people in the room probably want snow. That's why there's a pretty good crowd here today. I guess we could see a little snow here before the current event is over. The probability of a white Christmas, who knows? I don't know. But we'll talk a little bit about the long-range pattern. Will Bing sing or not? I don't know. But we have a classic ENSO pattern set up. I want to go through the kind of the extended range forecast to give you a flavor from what you might expect, based on teleconnections. And then we'll drill down a little bit more, look at our local and current weather with our big easterly flow event that was a lot warmer at the surface than people thought. And then there's developing Rex block that's going to keep us in this cutoff low probably at least till Friday. So anyway, this is the current pattern, the 52-member ensemble. And on your left-hand side, you see the 500 Heights, pretty big ridge building up over central Canada, kind of a trough between them, the big ridge over the Atlantic Basin. I guess I can point with the mouse, right? Yep. And this trough that's coming in is going to eventually try to cut off underneath. We'll get to that later. But all the cold air that's been coming down piecemeal for the last couple of weeks is kind of pushed off to our east, and there's a lot of warm air from the Pacific now, coming into Western North America. And this is what the pattern is going to look like theoretically on the opposite side on Christmas Eve. So we get back to a mean trough, and there is a hint of a ridge. I'll can't find the mouse. There's a hint of a ridge. A cat always finds the mouse, but never me. But it is a hint of a ridge redeveloping on the west coast, which indicates like maybe we'll get a little bit at least closer to normal. And you can see the 850 temperature across all North America by the end of this forecast period, which is about 16 days away, shows we finally get rid of all the warm air that's draining into Canada, and Western North America, and we get kind of at least back to normal. So the coming month of December and the winter, I went to the CPC site to read some of the latest stuff and look at their forecasts, and they're kind of going towards the classic pattern of temperatures and precipitation that teleconnect to a warm episode, active southern stream, so they are kind of wet and cool with the waves going across the southern United States and the Gulf Coast. And they've originally, when they had this El Nino forecast, they kind of, because of the drought, they were really reluctant, if you remember the older forecast, to make it wet in Southern California, but they've abandoned that one. They've kind of moistened up to the fact that it might rain there. And then, of course, with the classic El Nino, they got the dry northern tier. Obviously they're going with this active southern storm track. So, we could get a storm to sneak up the coast in this kind of a pattern eventually, like this one that's coming up today, kind of a complex little system. But their forecast is a classic kind of El Nino pattern. You can see the temperature forecasts for this month. They're just basically saying the whole West Coast is going to be above average at a 50% confidence level. You figure usually if they break into 3 bins, 33, 33, 33, so 50s are pretty confident. 50% of their eggs are in the warm basket on the West Coast, all across the northern tier, and they have the cool, if you will, focused around the Gulf Coast. And if we switch to the precipitation forecasts, they've sort of got the western United States and the southern United States wet, at least, through the flare of the El Nino, and kind of dry in the northern tier. Of course, we're equal chances. And because of that pattern, they also have it wet along the coast of Alaska. And then the temperature outlook, this is for the winter. They have all of Alaska and basically the west coast of the United States above average. And they got 50% of their eggs in that basket. The 40% all of it comes all the way out to Montana. So they're pretty confident it's going to be warm on the west coast. And then, of course, they think it's going to be cold in the southern United States, that active southern stream. And we always end up in equal chances when there's a El Nino, La Nina. And then there's their forecast for precipitation. Again, they really are showing, at least now California in the wet, and then Florida. And then they show the hint, as you would expect, if you have an active southern stream, storms will come up the East Coast. There's a potential for storms. The only question is, will we have cold air in place when the storms come up the East Coast? But that's it's just a pretty well normal El Nino teleconnection. And then here's the sea surface temperature loop. It starts in September and it ends on the 3rd of December. It just kind of shows you, not a textbook El Nino when you look at sea surface temperature, but we do have a lot of warm water coming to our side of the date line and all the way to the coast of Central America. And in the different Nino areas, you can see everybody's been kind of, all the different SST anomalies of in different areas they look. The Nino 3-4 is the most prominent one used. Everybody's kind of above average now, like at least a half to almost a full standard deviation above normal. So the weather for the next few days, we can take a look at. We'll take a look at what's going on outside, and look at the satellite images, and then we'll look at some of the issues with the storm along the East Coast. I think a lot of people have forecast the snow. I think the EC had the storm about probably a day and a half faster than the NSEP models, but in the end, it was probably too aggressive with the cold air that it generated. And then we have this nice little red splotch that's going to form. So I think Dan actually already has some of this set up for me. He saw the briefing.
Firefox should have it.
So here, I can never see anything on the invisible shot, so it's nice he's got a visible one here. But anyway, you can see that the little dry slide off the coast and the big deep clouds off the along the east coast of the United States. You can actually see, and if you were outside recently, it looked like it was brightened up a little bit. There's actually some clearing in central New York all the way down into western Pennsylvania, and you can see the clouds are actually breaking up. And they say that breaking up is hard to do, but there's a lot of breaking up going on all the way down into West Virginia. So there's clearly this warm advection cloud shield way up to the north with the Rex block. And the track and the course of this low and the series of waves that are going to go into it are probably going to be really important for most of us. And I think if I go back, let me see if this. So we'll go to the infrared, and you can see all the enhanced clouds. Really deep moisture is really making really deep clouds. It's all pushed off to our east and northeast. So all the really intense looking stuff's way back there, and you can see there's a lot of low stuff lingering in Pennsylvania, but the main event at this point is well past us. What's the best water vapor frame? I can't. Is there U.S. water vapor? So you can see the digging waves and the nice strong jet coming up, and then this is where the big cyclone evolution has been going on along the East Coast. There's going to be multiple waves that go up through there and cut this low off, and that's going to play a big role in our weather here for the next few days. If I go back, so if you go to the analysis, you can see it's 31 degrees and freezing rain in Binghamton. Is a lot of the temperatures in the southeast Pennsylvania were rising into the mid to upper 30s last few hours. I think it was, unless I looked at my house, it was 34. So temperatures in most places are above freezing. Du Bois at 38. Temperatures in the 40s to our west. You can see the analysis shows that the storm off the coast, well to our east, and usually once kind of a dumb guy rule, unless you get a great deformation band, once the low gets north of our latitude, our precip pretty well shuts off. So people are still hanging on to snow. We really need some kind of big wraparound deformation band. So, and then here's the radar loop. Is it going to loop for me now?
Just hit refresh. It should get a new loop for you.
And the radar loop shows all the ugly mixed stuff pushing into New York State with some snow and probably in the Catskills. You can see there's some bright banding and all the heavy rain, all the really interesting precipitation is kind of to our east. There'll be multiple developments and multiple surges of rain into like the southeast. The southeast coast of New England into New England in the next day or so. But I guess a lot of people are counting on this band of precip back in here, this deformation zone, to get reinforced as we get secondary and tertiary evolutions of the cyclone. So people are still hanging on to the snow forecast. I'll go to this page here, and we'll look at is there a way to make this image so it fills the screen?
Yeah, F11.
F11. The other F11.
No, I think you got it. It's just you have something typing in the. There it goes.
Okay. So we'll look at the evolution of the large-scale pattern from the NCEP GFS over the United States, so you can see the block really well. So we go to the beginning of the loop. You can see this is our big ridge to the west, and a ridge upstream, kind of blocking pattern setting up, and this is wave coming underneath. And we'll watch. This is of course an ensemble forecast, but you can see it cuts off. By tomorrow morning, we have a nice cutoff low over the New York, New Jersey metropolitan area. An amazingly large ridge over central Canada. And this cutoff low just gets stuck under the block. We basically have a classic kind of Rex block. It's amazing to see 2 to 3 standing deviation above normal heights over Canada. So we're stuck in this cruddy low. People through our north are going to be really having some relatively warm weather. And then we peak at almost 3 standing deviations above normal there near Lake Winnipeg. And pretty impressive ridge. Finally, it begins to drift a little bit to our east, and then this pattern begins to get progressive this weekend. So it looks like we get northwesterly flow over the weekend, and then the flow of North America puts us back into like maybe the westerlies get active again. But you can see again in this forecast, we get stuck under this cutoff low for basically through the weekend, and it finally gets to our east like Saturday, Sunday. So the question is, will any of the warm air really ever get here? I don't know. Looks like it's amazing. Here, I'll go back to I'm going to 850 temperatures of North America. You see just amazingly warm. There's like +6 to +8 here in northern Canada. The temperatures are 3 to 4 standing deviations above normal. This is the GEFS is a blend of 21 models, and we got this cold pocket, over our part of the world stuck underneath the low, and they're just enjoying really warm weather in the plains of Canada and all the central United States. And it looks like by Sunday, the warm air gets into Ohio, and it begins to weaken. So, and there's a hint of a front coming. So we're never going to get into the warm air, although we do warm up to about, if you believe these models, about 4 to 5 Celsius at 850. So it looks like our warmest day could be on right now it's overnight Sunday into Monday, and then everything just goes back to normal. So like, let's see if the 12Z came in while we were talking. Nope, still 6Z. So we'll look at the QPF shield, and we'll zoom into our neck of the woods. Well, actually, look, 850 temperatures might be of value too at first. The 0 line comes all the way back almost to Binghamton at 850. You see there's above normal 850 temperatures off the east coast. but we don't really get down to about -2 until overnight tonight, and then we get to about -6. So any precipitation that comes along with the system later on should be in the form of snow if the boundary if we get enough, if the rates of the boundary is cold enough. But we start out, the zero line comes all the way back to almost to Lake Erie. My mouse is on the furthest west extent of the zero line this morning, and then it collapses during the day today, and then tonight we go to about -2. So a lot of people are going to turn to snow. So where's the precip going to fall? That's the next question. So here's the 12-hour QPF in this larger scale model, and you can see that this was valid as of 18Z today. You can see it had the band of precip coming back towards us, but the highest probability clearly to our north and east. I'll extend this for an eastern view. We're really on the edge of the precip. The heaviest precip goes into New York State. The GFS kind of intimates there'll be some kind of wraparound deformation band, and then it pushes well north of us. So there's not the odds of us getting any heavy snow are really quite low here. It looks like maybe like the Armageddon guy up here on the TV was saying a lot of snow for the Adirondacks, but we'll look at the 24-hour QPF for the Adirondacks if they're cold enough for snow. And, they're going to need great water recovery. This model doesn't have 2 inches of liquid up there. We'll go to a probability of 1 inch. I don't know how they get 2 feet of snow in the Adirondack. Maybe they have a wetter model they're looking at. But it looks like all these models are telling me that the heavy precipitation is going to be up in New England more. And of course, we missed this main event here in central Pennsylvania. So this is a plume diagram for State College. You can see that SREF thinks we're going to peak in the upper 30s today. There's a few members think we're going to get in the 40s. And then we gradually cool off this afternoon overnight. The boundary layer stays cold enough that any precipitation we get after about 6Z should, be able to accumulate on the ground, and we stay below freezing for about 2 days. And it's just kind of a pretty blob, not a very good diurnal throw here all the way till the 13th. You can see our 850 temperatures are forecast to be just above freezing, and they're going to drop below freezing late this afternoon and stay below freezing through the 13th for the next 3 days. We're going to be below freezing. So if we get precip here, it'd be snow. This is the 9Z SREF, and you see the precipitation basically has really light amounts for us. There are a couple of models that get robust. Some of them bring a deformation band for us, but it's basically a pretty light precipitation event for us. Maybe a few inches of precipitation, snow rather, are possible across central Pennsylvania. But you'll have to be in the right location at the right time, because every one of these members is different. It looks like chaos on this screen here. So if we look at the longer range for the GEFS, we'll have to use a 6Z. It's showing the same thing. It's just every run's a little different. And if we go for our temperatures, you can see with the cutoff low, once the cutoff low drifts over us, we got Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday was going to be kind of cool. And then there are some models that intimate we could get into the warm air, but most of them say we're never going to break out really warm. Like maybe we'll be near 40 on Sunday, and then a cold front comes through. So this will move down to the local scale. I'll stop this loop. This is the synthetic radar from the HER. And as you might expect, based on the radar image we looked at earlier, this is the NCEP version of the HER. I don't know what people run. I think some people still use the one from Boulder. But anyway, you can see the HER, the more intense returns are like over Long Island, New Jersey. They show a band of more intense precipitation this afternoon moving into the Catskills and then pushing into New England. But we're not under any notable echoes in this loop at all. Very light precipitation. The HER basically brings the heavy precipitation well into New England. You can see there's a hint of this deformation band in the HER. I'll loop this in a bit so you can see it clearer. And you can see the precipitation shield is actually moving. The echoes are actually moving from northeast down to, and then they turn around and they start moving towards the southeast. This only is a 16-hour loop, which if I'll run that manually again, you can see clearly there's a wraparound deformation band. And some of the models actually show another one formed tomorrow that has a better chance of bringing some precipitation to western Pennsylvania. So I'll just loop this real fast. You can see that evolution of the wraparound band around the low. And there it goes. So, but it's pretty light precipitation.
Well, there's some hints of heavier reflectivity, though.
Well, yeah, but and it doesn't last, and it's moving, and it's very small. Like they go through like eastern Pennsylvania down into Maryland. Yes.
I would be cautious. That's what that would be my sense with it. It's been showing up a lot.
So I'll go to the total precip. I'll stop this loop, and I'll go. Why? This F11 is really hard to deal with. Let me. I'll put the precipitation on. I'll do it in inches too. So here's the evolution of the precipitation shield in inches. You can see the precip in Pennsylvania is relatively light. It gets to about 1/4 of an inch in extreme eastern areas, and you can see we'll go to 0Z. You can see there's a 2-inch max on the up into New England, like along the coast, obviously with the big plume of high moisture and stuff like that, and the high PW plume. But the QPF amounts in the HER are actually fairly light if you're looking for heavy snow. But it slowly gets back, towards Williamsport. Looks like most of the snow this should all be snow later on tonight. We'll look at that next. But it looks like the snow. Okay, I'll switch map projections. Snow comes back into the picture. This is the 2-meter temperatures in the precip. You can see it's all rain initially. It's got some pockets of snow like in Sullivan County and up in the Catskills. That's the blue, and you can see the dark green showing the heavy rain around the New York City metropolitan area. Some pockets of the higher terrain in the Berkshires and stuff have freezing rain, but really no precipitation being generated over our area specifically at all. But notice we dropped this evening overnight that we dropped below 0. You can see the darker line showing the pockets of colder air, and you can see that at the very end of this you can see there's a hint. I don't know why that's doing that, but we got a hint of some snow in the mountains of West Virginia up into southern Pennsylvania, and some snow in extreme northern Pennsylvania and New York State. The HER, at least through 6Z, doesn't bring any significant snow, whereas if you at least looked at those SREF plumes, they had a lot of snow. Some of them had a significant amount of snow over us. So, and we'll go to the eastern scale. This is it defaults to radar. You can see the evolution of the surface cyclone. The cyclone's off the east coast, and then it moves. The first cyclone moves like into, it's hard to see, it moves into Cape Cod, and then it builds a second cyclone back. But really the main load just kind of stays in New England, at least through 6Z. Why is it going on? I don't know what this says an error here, but that's through 6Z. So switch over to the SREF. And the SREF shows the same thing. The main load goes up into New England. There's a hint of a second load developing tomorrow at about 12Z off the Jersey coast. So I think that's the one that causes the SREF to create a wraparound band of precipitation. I'll switch this to a Pennsylvania scale. So you can see a hint of a deformation band in the SREF that's basically to our west. So if you believe the SREF, I guess sometime tomorrow we should probably see areas in central Pennsylvania get an inch or so of snow, and maybe the mountains will get some higher amounts. Like looks like there's about 0.3 to 0.4 in the southwest mountains. But where this deformation band sits up is questionable. Probably in the higher terrain is a good idea. But most people who have heavy snow in their forecast, I think, are still hoping on that deformation band coming around and getting us.
About 5 minutes.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, you have any questions?
No, I'm just saying we have about 5 minutes.
Yeah, any questions? Everyone want to see anything? Or?
Questions for Rich?
I have a question, Rich. When you were showing the general pattern to start with, you indicated that there was this nearly 3 standard deviation ridge up in
northwest of us.
Yeah, way up in central Canada, right?
Yes.
And I remember, maybe it was this year or last year, but sometime you had indicated, maybe it was the beginning of this semester, that the models tend to
forecast ridge is better than troughs.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah.
So, by about a day and a half, 2 days of skill. Yes.
Yeah. How do you feel about that?
That was a good forecast, probably. Yeah. That's why I like the ridge. There's a hint of an anomaly in the ridge on the west coast by Christmas Eve. So that gives you some hope that we might get the pattern may switch. We're going to get rid of this pattern.
Yeah.
The ridges are really well. There's actually a paper I actually got to review paper that's going to come out on that exact topic.
Okay.
About how ridges are better forecast in our models than they are than troughs. So that makes kind of sense. But yeah, so that was. It would have been nice and warm here if we could get rid of the cutoff low.
Yeah. What do you feel that's a really high
Confidence forecast that ridge, yes.
So, given the uncertainty with how this upper level low meanders, do you feel like the trends in what you're seeing in the high-res guidance are useful or not?
The high-res guidance for short-term forecasting is really good. There's a really good paper in BAMS, I think it was in March of this year, talks about how they really improves the short-term QPF. So I really like the high-res guidance. I've also found that we've had 4 ice events here with freezing rain ice events, that even the HER, when it's 3-kilometer resolution, it tends to erode the cold air way too fast here. Like Friday, every run kept pushing the erosion of the cold air like an hour or two into the future. I stayed below 32 at my house until like 1 in the morning. I had ice, and the HER said we were going to go by freezing originally in the afternoon on Friday. So as good as these models are on the high resolution are, and they simulate the ridge valley system, and they keep the cold air along the ridges pretty good, they still erode the cold air too fast. But overall, I think even the large scale models show that the main event of the real heavy precipitations, it's gone. It's going to New England. We're just going to, our only hope of any major precipitation is going to be like, on the order of tenths of inches here. I wouldn't be confident in forecasting more than an inch of snow here the next day or two. I think 2 inches would probably be on the high end, don't you? I mean, maybe the mountains, wherever that, if somebody gets lucky and the deformation band's stronger, but all the indications are it's not a very impressive feature.
Yeah, no, I think last year, I think it was Paul and Fred will remember this better than I will. Last year, I'm going to say March, February, the deformation band that dumped on us for several hours, the high-res guidance really didn't pick up on it that day. In fact, we were looking at it during the presentation. So the fact that it's showing something in eastern Pennsylvania and getting as far southeast to Lehigh Valley, I think is interesting.
But that's only through 6C because the HER doesn't show that.
Right.
The SRF has another cyclone developing tomorrow off Jersey.
Right, and the 4K NAM has something similar as well. Yeah. So it's interesting to follow if it handles things better this time around.
The cold air we've eroded the cold air, other than the stuff stuck in the valley. It's over.
You're not going to get a lot of cold air from the northwest because it's really warm. Yeah. You go about 500 kilometers out, I think it's pretty warm. You had a question?
Yeah. From the beginning, from the beginning, you showed the visible satellite. What was causing that breaking up the clouds and clearing? It was in like New York and PA. Was it part of the dry slot or something else?
Well, I think there's some drying coming around the back of the upper level low, but there's also some low level. It's all low clouds to the west, and so you're getting some subsidence also. But on the west side of the low, it's drier on the west side of the upper level low, with the ridge to the further west too. So there's some large scale substance, and at low levels, it's eroding the low clouds. It's probably get some downslope too.
Thanks.
Anybody else? Questions, comments? All right, so that's it for the fall semester. Everybody have a tremendous break and luck with finals. Let's thank Rich one more time for coming. And over the break, look for announcements. We're going to do this again on a Tuesday or Thursday each week in the spring semester too. So.